Great. Thank you so much. Our webinar today is brought to you and sponsored by CAI. CAI specializes in the software development and maintenance side of technology with an emphasis on delivering projects on time, on budget, and at 25% less cost. We've become intellectual leaders in our field with 4,000 associates and 35 years of experience, and as such, we're committed to helping teach the IT community about the art and science of technology management. And to facilitate this transfer of knowledge, we created a Great IT Professional as a platform for sharing and teaching within the IT community. We've produced over 1,000 hours of educational content, which you can access at greatpro.org. We have a mobile app that can be downloaded at greatpro.org/mobile. We know that as an IT professional, your personal knowledge growth is critical for your career success and earning capacity, and to that end, we're proud to be partner with you on your journey of continuous learning and development. So thanks everyone for joining us and for your patience during our opening remarks. At this point, I will turn it over to Hector for our presentation. And once again, Hector, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. My name is Hector Del Castillo, Chief Product Officer at Bolt PM. And it's my pleasure to be here today to speak about this particular topic. Today's topic is 7 ways to scale your business through digital transformation. And what we'll be covering today is multiple things about why post-COVID-19, many organizations are not stopping. They're actually accelerating digital transformation. And first of all, I want to give a shout out to the Great IT Professional for great content and also for inviting me to be here today and hosting this particular webinar. Also, special shout out to Podcast Village because they record great content from anything that I do, and they create great podcasts and great shows. And it's the great way to create content. Also, if you're on Twitter, you can use this particular hashtags, hashtag digital transformation and hashtag scaling business. And you can also follow the Great IT Professional at Great IT Pro 1, that is their handle. And then my own, you can actually follow me as well at HM Del Castillo. And I've actually have sent that information via chat, so you can actually don't have to write it down. You can just copy it from the chat line. And also, I would like to invite all of you to be engaged on the chat. I believe you have access to that, and also submit your questions using the Q&A. And Wendy will get to that. We are going to be having a brief Q&A before the end of today's discussion. So if there's any questions that you want me to submit them as early as possible. I'll see if I can cover them as I move along the content. And if not, I will then leave them for Q&A later on today. Today's discussion is focusing on answering this question. How can digital transformation help you scale your business or your organization to persevere through COVID-19 recovery? And what we'll be discussing is why digital transformation is critical to ensure that your organization is adaptable, agile, and quick in being able to make some changes. Also, we'll discuss from various different studies 10 ways that COVID-19 can impact any business, and we'll talk about the range of effects and impact that some organizations are seeing across industrial sectors. And we'll discuss 7 ways to scale your business, and then in essence, we'll have an Ask Me Anything Q&A at the end of today's discussion. And I'll just share the highlights of 7 steps to accelerate digital transformation from a recent talk that I've done regarding acceleration of digital transformation efforts. Before we get any further, I actually would like to pose this particular question. I'd like to ask you to reply which one of these applies to you. How have you been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic? Are you currently unemployed, underemployed? There's been no impact. You're seeing pretty much the same flow of business or demand on your offering. Are you working from home most of the time now? Are you unhappily employed because either you're overwhelmed with work and also working from home is a challenge for you? Any of these, if you can answer those, I actually will also provide the same information via the chat, so you can respond, and I will just read off some of your responses. If you share those, make sure you type in the chat and respond to everyone and contribute. There's the information. So some of you are saying working from home, and welcome, because I've been also doing the same. Some of you are saying that you're overwhelmed with work, and that's great. And a few of you saying that there's been no change, and a few others, I believe that right now that's the main responses that I'm seeing on the chat. Go ahead and type in on the chat. I'd like to at least figure out where you're at today and what's going on within your organization today. And what I've seen, as I'm been doing multiple live online talks and webinars, is a range. It doesn't matter what the audience size is some people are currently unemployed, unfortunately, or underemployed. I think most of us that are contractors or consultants are in that world, trying to kind of figure out how to get more client flow. In the challenge is that now we can't do any in person. We have to do everything live online, or we're on Zoom a majority of the time, or some other video conference application. And often there are some lucky few that have seen no impact, and yet others who are working from home and they have challenges in working from home. So let's move ahead. I've seen that right now there's been some responses, but I would say be sure to type in your responses, and they can definitely chime in. Make sure you are responding to everyone on the chat as we're doing some of these polls. So the first thing we'll do is talk about the current situation. What has been going on post-COVID-19, even as we're looking to some sort of recovery? Well, amazingly enough, everybody is now using more and more mobile applications. And the reason for that is because out of the 7 billion plus around the world, about 5.9 billion have smartphones. They're carrying some sort of smartphone, and they have access to data networks. And a lot of them are using more apps than ever before. Statistics are showing that post-COVID-19, around March, April, the number of downloads surged around the world by 52%. This is according to Sensor Tower, which tracks the usage and revenue achieved by various different types of mobile applications. So all of a sudden, everybody's like downloading brand new apps that they never thought they would need, and now they're using them. And what are some of these apps? Well, let's take a look at that. The information is that these are the most widely downloaded as of August of 2020. And this includes, surprise, surprise, TikTok around the world. This is both for Android and Apple devices. Zoom is number 2 around the world. So if you're on Zoom, you're not the only one. There's 5 billion plus people using Zoom as well. And Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Google Meet, Snack Video, Messenger, Snapchat, Telegram. If you want to see a much bigger list, you can actually visit Sensor Tower, and they keep track of the top 100, and they publish those on a monthly basis. And these are specifically non-game applications. So some of these are for productivity, some of them are for social media, and even some of the social media are being repurposed to become marketing communication channels for many organizations. So let's take a look at even further. And actually, before we go even further, if you can answer this question, I'd like to know, and you can again type in the answer via the chat, how has demand for your offering, whatever your offering is, whether it's goods or services or a combination of both, how have they been impacted? How is demand from your customers? What is it looking like today? Are you seeing significant drop in demand? Are you seeing less demand, same demand, more demand, or just overwhelming demand with orders? I see some of you are saying same demand. Some of you are saying that it's overwhelming demand, so it's actually good. I guess it's good, right? Well, maybe not, because that means that sometimes you may get angry customers if you have a lot of back orders and they have a long wait before they actually get whatever they're looking for that you're offering. And often, when I'm doing this, I'm seeing a range of things as we're going through COVID-19. And it's a challenge either way, because it's a challenge if you are seeing a significant drop. Not so much of a challenge if you're seeing the same demand, but definitely a challenge if you're also at the other extreme where you're seeing overwhelming demand. And often that you need to figure out what to do. On the one extreme, when you're seeing significant drop in demand, you need to figure out how to remain cash flow positive, right? You got to turn on your business continuity plan. And this is happening today in many industrial sectors, and we'll discuss those and where exactly they're being impacted and we'll share that information. And here it is. McKinsey and Company published this at the end of March of this year, and they estimated the impact of loss in demand and productivity in terms of real GDP forecasted. And what you see on the left-hand side of this chart is oil and gas, insurance, and then banks, so financial services, oil and gas, and then also hospitality, airlines, in addition to hotels, have been deeply impacted. And the impact here at in the minus 40%, somewhere between a loss in 30% to 45% in productivity, is down to depression level type of loss in demand or loss of productivity. Depression as in the 1930s depression. So many of these industries haven't seen this level of loss in demand in almost a decade. And it's going to be a challenge if you are in a company that is either selling into oil and gas or financial services or the airlines or hospitality, hotel and entertainment. These are all deeply impacted that are at least in the 25% or more drop in demand. On the other extreme are the ones that are less impacted. And believe it or not, this includes some retail sectors, consumer services, high tech and software, and pharmaceutical companies. As a matter of fact, there are niches in here that are actually experiencing dramatic surge in demand, such as the ones that are making masks, the ones that are making disinfectants and sanitizers, and all the pharmaceutical companies trying to come up with a vaccine and also test kits and other things that are needed to at least figure out where you're at as far as this pandemic. And sometimes also that surge is the ones that are seeing overwhelming demand. Well, in software specifically, there's been a surge. And the surge is that amazingly enough, all these other companies that are sort of stuck in the middle and as far as loss in productivity, they've been sort of like winding down and then very quickly trying to figure out what to do next and what to do as even before recovery begins, because they want to be able to bounce back as quickly as possible and accelerate as soon as they start seeing recovery. And what that means for many of these organizations is that they're actually looking at maybe another potential. Uncertainty is huge, right? Because there's, what McKinsey is saying also in the same report, and this is actually much later information, they've been publishing updates on an ongoing basis, on a monthly basis. And the latest report as of September, which is the latest, is that they actually have, they're predicting that if a second wave can incur an additional $5 trillion to the U.S. economy lost in real GDP, gross domestic product, where we have already been lost over $4 trillion of real GDP so far. So there's additional. And again, this is not going to be no different. The industries that have been deeply impacted, such as energy and airlines and hotels, they're going to continue. And it may be decades before they actually bounce back. All the other ones in between, they're trying to bounce back as soon as possible. And that means maybe, bouncing back and accelerate within the next year so that they can bounce back as early as maybe late 2021, maybe early 2022. It's going to be at least 2 to 3 year bounce back period to get back to where things were at the beginning of this year. So rapid migration. In the meantime, there's been a huge acceleration, probably the most acceleration that we've seen in over a decade, because digital transformation has been around. Most organizations have been very, very slow at adopting because there have been serious obstacles, barriers, including people who, may be thinking that if they may be replaced by some algorithm or automation, which in this case, this is all proving that there's a lot more work to be done, because a lot of work is involved in figuring out where and how to automate and how to measure, so you can track your business performance and try to figure out how do you do this in step without losing productivity. Well, because of this entire shrinking of companies right now, where some of them are seeing significant loss in demand, those are the ones that are sort of right now reinventing themselves to start really doing a lot more adoption so that they can come up quicker and be a lot more efficient and do more with less. And here's what a senior partner within McKinsey is saying. The crisis, this particular crisis, has forced many companies into a massive experiment in how to be more nimble, more adaptable, more flexible, and how to be quick when they haven't been so quick in the past. And this goes across industries. This is basically all the industries that I spoke about that are sort of in the middle. And this has caused a lot of software companies, especially cloud service providers, the ones that are providing managed services and other services that are cloud services, to see a surge in demand because now everybody wants to have some sort of platform that they can then start developing their own custom-made applications, enterprise applications, across every aspect of the business that is critical. Here's what Gartner is saying. They're also been tracking a lot of what's going on, the acceleration of digital transformation. And they're saying that it's really driven by the need for more and more data that is structured data so it can be ingested by analytics and then provide the metrics as to how managers and executives are going to measure the performance of the entire business. And that this is being done in a phased approach, so to speak, because as we'll learn, it's not overnight. And often it's a multi-phase approach to actually being able to slowly and surely maintain a pace by which you're furiously working towards digitizing every aspect of your business in order to do more with less. And we're going to give some examples as well. So digital transformation, for those of you who are thinking, what is this? Because it's become a buzzword. And I see that many organizations and even marketing firms can come up with their own definition. Here is my definition. Digital transformation is a radical rethinking of your business model. It means that you now need to reinvent or refresh, improve your business model, and at the same time, integrate technology so that your entire organization is doing more with less resources, less funding, but the fallacy is that you need to do adoption and integration of tools that are commercially available off the shelf but require maybe initially significant integration so that you can then do the installation, do the provisioning, the setup, and then train your people on how to use these tools effectively so that you can reap the benefits of these new tools. So in essence, it's business transformation by adoption of new digital tools that no one in the business has had before. And often it means a lot more than just adoption. It means a lot more work. As we go on to the next one, which one of these and how has your business been impacted? We talked about that some of you are experiencing the same demand. Some of you are experiencing overwhelming demand. Some of you are seeing less demand than before. What are the ways that your business has been impacted? Which one of these different things, 10 different items, are you experiencing today? And I'll let you guys type in. Actually, what I'll do is I'll share this via the chat so you can actually copy your preferred answers. It could be more than one, because this should be one of these that select all that apply to what you're seeing is happening within your business. I just shared those answers. If you can just let me know which one of these you're experiencing, and I'll be reading them off and kind of look at all the different ways that a business, no matter which industrial sector you are in North America, you're experiencing more of one of these, not just one, but more of one of these. And this is why it's such a challenge for most organizations, right? Because this is what creates uncertainty, that it's not one thing. The problem that you're solving involves many different things, right? Some of you are saying that you're experiencing changing dynamics of customer interactions, meaning no more in person. Now everything is live online, and that's maybe a challenge, especially for B2B vendors. Your product launches are being deferred or canceled. Similar to what's happening in the movie industry, in the entertainment, many blockbusters that were scheduled to be released by now have been delayed or postponed until later this year, or if not, first quarter of 2021. And that is happening in real time. This is entertainment is just trying to figure out when are we going to see people back in the theater. And I am, if you ask me, I'm not planning on stepping into any movie theater in the next year or so. That's just me. I don't know about you, but I think it just depends on what segment and how at risk you are, and whether or not you are a caregiver for family and friends that may be very vulnerable segments. And often you need to kind of consider not just what's going on at work, but also what it is going on with your family and friends and your community, and be able to step up to help those that need help. And that usually means vulnerable portions of the population, seniors, and that they can come in different ways. Neighbors, friends, family, all those things are the things that are impacting not just our work life, but our lives. So I'm seeing that using a combination, and actually this is exactly what Gartner published earlier, saying 10 ways that COVID-19 impacts any business, and actually polled different executives and managers within companies. And this was a global survey, and they published this. This is what the top 10 of any way that businesses that they actually surveyed are being impacted by COVID-19. And so therefore, this is what you're seeing right now. And often these are all the challenges, and this is what most businesses are trying to solve today as they're looking to accelerate adoption of digital transformation. So let's talk about scaling, because this is another thing that I find is that people confuse growing a business versus scaling your business. And there's a difference. Tell me from your point of view, which one of these is the best answer to the definition of scaling a business? And what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to type in the available answers, and you can either tell me 1, 2, 3 to 5, because there's 5 choices. So make it quick, or you can just tell me via the chat any of these 5 answers. I just shared those via the chat. I'll be waiting for your answers. Either tell me 1 through 5, which one of these is you think is the best answer. And then we can actually go into the actual definition, and I'm going to be comparing and contrasting growing a business versus scaling a business. And many of you are saying that it's actually the ability to rapidly adapt and respond to business disruptions, safeguard your people and assets while maintaining continuous business operations. That's a pretty good answer. Does anybody have any other thoughts about which one of these is the best answer? You can share via chat, and we can actually discuss this maybe a little bit further. And let me move on and say, scaling a business is my definition about business scaling. Business scaling is about an organization's ability to substantially grow its revenue quickly by increasing and diversifying its customer base. So it's not just about retention, it's about acquisition of new customers. And this can be done without significantly increasing your operational costs. So if you were just focused on growing the top line, yes, you can grow the top line, but often you're still going to grow your operating costs, because the more you capture, the more resources and the more tools and the more supplies you need. And this is certainly true for if you have a consulting business, right? Every time you win new clients, you have to dedicate hours, and often it's more than one person. You have to bring in new people, and yes, you're capturing business and you're creating revenue, but you're not necessarily becoming more profitable, right? Because wages tend to be a variable cost. The more you consume, the more you need, and your cost structures are high, the more you capture. So the challenge about scaling your business is that you have to focus on doing 2 things. Not only growing your revenue, you have to also focus on reducing cost reduction, continuous cost reduction, just on an ongoing basis. Not only have teams assigned to figure out different ways of growing your revenue, you have to have teams assigned to figure out, as you're doing more, try to figure out how to do more with less without losing your unique value proposition in the marketplace. And so the left-hand side of this is growing your business, which is really more about growing your top line. Your revenue, your sales revenue is growing, and you may be successful in doing that, but your cost structures are also growing, which means you're not becoming necessarily more profitable. As a matter of fact, many companies will grow the top line very quickly, but if you look at their profitability is shrinking, not growing, even as they're growing their revenue. And that is because all they do is what I call, they throw people at, fixing, the supporting more customers and being able to capture 30, 50 times customers. Now they have to deliver and they have to hire lots of more people to actually support all of these new customers. And it's not a very a good formula because you're not necessarily growing the profitability. You're actually maybe even losing profitability as you're growing. Scaling, you have to have a different culture, a different mentality, because you have to have the people that can help you grow your sales revenue, but you also have to have different people to help you figure out how to continuously look for opportunities to cost reduce time and time again without losing your unique value proposition and still be able to capture even more customers without necessarily losing the consistency in the way you're managing the customer experience for each and every customer so that you can retain and acquire over time. This is scaling. And the reason I'm talking about this is because people have been doing the left-hand side for the most part. All of these organizations for a long time, in the way they were slow to adopt digital transformation, they were busy growing the business, growing the top line, not necessarily growing the bottom line. And studies are showing, and we'll show the results, that people who have been early adopters of digital transformation, they're actually been scaling their business instead. And we're going to talk about some examples of these companies later on. Let's move on to the next one. 7 ways to scale through digital transformation. So we're going to talk about 7 different things, and we're going to talk a little bit more, and then we're going to give some examples of some of the winners and some of the ones that have been sort of being stuck in the middle as they've been trying to figure out how to scramble and accelerate digital transformation. So the first thing is that here they are. We're going to talk about each one of these one at a time and get a little more deeply. And if you have any questions regarding this, again, please submit your questions and comments via the chat. And I'm actually looking at the chat line and maybe contributing to some of this. And if I can bring in some of this information, then we can talk about it. So let's just go through them real quick, and then we can get into more deeper conversations regarding each one of these. Number 1, you got to choose the right leadership team wisely. And often, this is what sets your values and your corporate culture. You want to make sure you have the right culture, because if you need to execute your strategy differently, it's about having the right strategy and then be able to execute it. Number 2, you got to shape a transformative vision of where you're going next. Where do you want to be 3 to 5 years from now as you're looking to recover, bouncing back from this dip in the economy that you're experiencing, and that you're looking at to what is it that you need to do to actually be able to bounce back and bounce back as quickly as possible, and maybe even do better pretty quickly than you were before this whole thing started. And that is about creating a new vision for your company and being able to figure out how to design the right strategy and then execute it at the same time. Then number 3, boost perceived customer value. Number 4, build an engaging platform. We'll talk about that because if you're producing products, you might need to have an engaging platform to actually start marketing and selling your products, because that is what most organizations that have been scaling up to now for the last 5-10 years. That's what they've been doing, is basically working on nothing more than platforms. Then rethinking your business model and accelerating digital transformation efforts so that you can then at some point become nimble and data driven. So all your decisions across every single aspect of your business is not only about measuring progress, but it's also about figuring out how to continue to improve to achieve the highest operational efficiency possible as quickly as you can, even as you are reinventing your business model. So there's a lot of experimentation, a lot of learning in here in doing any of these things. And this is why you need to go into number 1 first. Choosing your leadership team wisely is about understanding that none of this is one person. This is going to require multiple teams. Running a business and be successful at not just growing but scaling your business is about making sure you have the right teams in place, because it's a team effort. It's never a one person, even though you see lots of things in the media about one CEO being able to take one company that has many different things. It's a global company, and being able to do it all on their own. That's not the case. They have lots of teams, multiple teams, running every aspect of the business and making sure they have teams assigned to growing and diversifying the customer base, turning that into growth in revenue, and other teams dedicated specifically on just nothing but cost reduction that can be done and achieved without losing the value proposition and without losing any of the customers that you already have captured. That is hard to execute. And often it's a team, not one person, but teams involved, and special teams in many places of the business to be able to execute this strategy correctly. So let's talk about this. Any transformation, whether it's business transformation, it includes this digital transformation, it starts with your people. And you want to make sure that at least your leaders, your managers and leaders are the right kind of people. And that means they must have a growth mindset, and the entire organization has to turn itself and encourage and inspire people to actually have a growth mindset mentality. It starts with your people, and over time, it will help you redefine processes, redefine technologies and tools that enable your processes, apply that to your entire product portfolio, and that will turn itself into higher profit. Because using better tools and new tools, it's about less work being done, manual work being done by the people, and then people that can be dedicated to continue to improve processes, continue to improve the tools that have been adopted, so that you can then apply it to all of your products. And over time, your entire product portfolio will become much leaner, much better, and everything is going to become more profitable. The entire profitability of your entire portfolio goes up. And all of this because you're still being focused, keeping your focus on the most important customer segments that you want to not only retain, but also acquire more of. And inspire people will also cause you to create customer loyalty. So it starts with a growth mindset. Inspire your people, all, especially not just your customer-facing people, it's everyone in the business. Say dedicated to do whatever it takes to deliver more with less. More value with less effort is what this means. And then be able to not only retain customers by providing a superior experience that as they expect, but also those customers over time become loyal customers, and they become referrals back to getting you more business, more customers buying from you instead of your competitors. And this is a study that was published recently by Bain, saying this is what the way it works. If you work on inspiring your people, do whatever it takes, that your managers and leaders can inspire everyone, customer-facing employees, but also everyone else that is also on the backstage. And that creates customer loyalty. And then those loyal customers will bring in and refer to you more customers. Here's an example of highest growth companies. These are all video conferencing, new tools, some of them, because where was Teams a year ago? I wasn't a Team user up until after April of this year, because that's what Microsoft very quickly introduced it and then made it, turned it on as part of Office Suite applications. RingCentral, has their own video conferencing, and then GoToWebinar has been around for a long time. And then legacies, what I would consider legacy like WebEx and others, have been around for a long time. But guess what? The incumbents in video conferencing post-COVID-19 have been losing market share, not gaining market share. Zoom is the biggest winner. Microsoft Teams is the second biggest winner, along with Google Meet. If you look at today's the top 10 most adopted since March of this year, it is Zoom is number one. And again, it goes back to even now, August 2020, Zoom is number 2 most widely downloaded mobile application around the world. This has been the biggest winner, not because it's a better, more superior product than anything else. It's because they were ready to scale and they were already there 5 years ago. They just no one had adopted. When everybody needed to turn on something that was easy to use, was quick and worked across devices, Zoom had a clear winner. And yes, they had some hiccups, but those hiccups were overcome very quickly. Here's the reality. Zoom today has a market cap valuation higher than airlines. Look at the market cap this year. This is actually published April of 2020. They gained 300 million users almost overnight. Between December, they had 10 million, and by April, they had 300 million users around the world. And that's what brought their market cap. And their market cap is today higher than any airline. And I mentioned earlier, airlines have been deeply impacted. Southwest is number 1, not just in US, but by market cap compared to even foreign airlines. And Zoom is been a clear winner. Yes, there's Microsoft Teams and there's other, but the ones that are monetizing today, Zoom is number 1 at growing and actually realizing multipliers to the way they've grown in market cap. And actually, it's attracted even more competition, because I've seen right now, and I'm aware of even new video conferencing applications that are currently being launched into market just because of the opportunity that everybody has been jumping on Zoom and everything else like Zoom. Now, number 2, shape a bold transformative vision. Once you have your people, then put them together and say, how do we bounce back? And let's put that together. And what it means is that you need to look at not the way to resolve quickly your current business continuity issues, which is maintain your positive cash flow, number 1 thing that you want to do. And then once you do that, then figure out how to become more resilient, figure out how to turn around the entire business. And that may mean sometimes building better tools that help you become more efficient, do more with less. And that might take some time, because it's not necessarily that you can take off-the-shelf tools and just start using them. You wish there was. There's nothing off the shelf, unfortunately. And this is what's creating so much business for integrators, cloud service integrators, and even managed service providers. But also, it's about reimagining the future of your company, and then figure out how to create ways to reinvigorate your entire portfolio. And so this is Horizon 1, or maybe Phase 1. This is Phase 2, Horizon 2. And then this is Phase 3, Horizon 3, when this is time from today until sometime in the future. And this may be a multi-year approach. All of these, each one of these steps, each one of these phases and horizons, there may be more than 1 year apiece, but each one of these means that you have to not maintain the current pace, but accelerate the adoption of digital transformation. Because every one of these will mean adoption of new tools, improvement of current processes, make sure that everybody is aware as to why this is happening, so they can start using the new tools and start adopting new ways of working together, so they can become more efficient, more effective of what they're doing, and it will show in the market cap of your company ultimately, even when you're privately held. Here's information about food delivery applications in North America. These are the top 5 as of August of 2020. Again, this information comes from Sensor Tower. And you notice that, yes, you have applications, and many of them, these are brand new ones that you just downloaded since April of 2020. These are the top 5 by downloads and by revenue, both. And look at this, Domino's by itself, their mobile app is in the top 5. And all they sell is Domino's, whatever you can buy at Domino's. Pizza, along with things that go along with pizza. The reason why Domino's is in the top 5 compared to everybody else who is conglomerates, basically like an e-commerce conglomerate for any local restaurants, is Domino's is one of the early adopters. And because they're an early adopter, just by doing improvements of their web portal, their platform for taking in orders, and mobile applications, they have been growing their business faster and becoming more profitable by doing that, being an early adopter of digital transformation. They've been working for at least 8 years in improvement of their web portal and also coming up with better, easier to use mobile applications. And now if you are a Domino's user, if you have their app on, you can now get order and find out, they will ask you, do you want it delivered? Do you want to carry out? And which location is near you? Automatically, all of that is 0 clicks. It'll just tell you. And if you have made orders before, it'll say, do you want the usual order? And then just click through, 1-click pay. And now you're getting status on your app as to when is it going to be ready for you to carry out or do curbside pickup, or get it delivered, and how soon before you get it delivered to your home. Any of these things are very easily available with just 1 click. You're getting status, and you're getting minute by minute status on where your pizza is. And they also now even introduced contactless way of making the pizza, because they've been working on automating the way that you're making pizza so that it becomes contactless, less human error prone. And you put in the ingredients, and then the pizza comes out with the right ingredients as per orders. So they're one of the early adopters, and this is why they're going up. All the others were sort of like, struggling until this pandemic, and all of them, Grubhub, Postmates, DoorDash, and then even as Uber Eats entered the market about a year ago, maybe a little bit over that, all 4 of these have been growing in adoption. Number 3, boost perceived customer value. And this is about looking at what is that understanding perceived customer value, because very quickly, if you ever have measured the value proposition of your products, your organization has a completely different view of value being delivered into the market compared to your customers. And what you want to do to be able to help you retain and acquire customer segments is you've got to go out there and start interviewing, and start surveying, and start observing, and figure out very quickly all those things that you need to know ahead of time to ensure that whatever your offering is, it is unique in the market, and that customers see value, and you move based on whatever they're saying is missing that will enhance the value, the perceived value proposition, the highest, and you focus on doing those things, and then you prioritize and then put everything else in the back burner. Focus on maximizing perceived customer value first, and that starts by just conducting interviews and surveys to understand, so that you can bring that voice of the customer back into your company and start figuring out what else do you need to do to, on the collaborator side, on the backstage, what do you need to do that would actually help you also improve your company's value to shareholders and founders. So all of these things means that you have to work across all 3. These become 3 different swim lanes. First swim lane is about the desirability of your offering. Understanding this allows you as a vendor to manage and offer a superior customer journey, like the way they want to be treated. Not the way you think that you need to treat them, the way they want to be treated. And also focus on establishing the right distribution channels for your offering to be available. And sometimes this is about expanding your channels, or it's about using different communication channels to reach out to your target customers. That's about increasing the desirability, and this is about getting that voice of the customer so that you can focus on the other 2 swim lanes that we're going to go through. Feasibility, collaborators, this is suppliers and partners that are mostly on the backstage to customers, but they will help you reduce your operational costs, because now you're outsourcing all the right things that will help you reduce your time to market in delivering whatever value proposition your customers are looking for right now. Not tomorrow, right now, because that's the way the market is moving. Most customers today want what they want with a frictionless buy journey, and they don't want to wait. They want it now, right? This is what e-commerce has done to all these customers. We're all used to doing that, and this is the reason why we're downloading all sorts of different mobile apps, because we're looking for the right vendors that can satisfy our needs as quickly as we need. And that's about feasibility, is about reducing the cost while maximizing the value you're delivering to your customers. And I mentioned that scaling means cost reduction over time. This is mostly about figuring out ways to reduce your costs and start pre-selling and make revenue before you deliver anything. That's where you're trying to move to. And then the third piece is about viability. This is about the financial viability of your company. Do you have the right culture to execute on a change in strategy or a change in direction to your strategy? Do you work on what are the things that you can do to inspire your people? Not just the people dealing with customers, but also others that are on the backstage side. You got to inspire every single worker that is either helping you reduce cost and or create more value, and then creating revenue off of that. And that by itself over time will help you increase customer lifetime value, but also increase the shareholder, your owner's lifetime value. And if you're a publicly traded company, you will see that this doing the first two become a multiplier to any of these two things. It'll multiply the effect of increasing the customer lifetime value positively, and it'll also help you increase positively the shareholder lifetime value, and that whole thing turns into improving the profitability for your entire business. And that allows you to scale. So working on all three means you have to have a swim lane for each one of these three, and then assign teams to execute and then track everything you do across all three of these things. All of these are critical to be able to scale a company. Here's an example of companies that have been scaling and they've been competing in the e-commerce world. Amazon, supported by Amazon Web Services, and Amazon Web Services is their most profitable business unit. It's powering the e-commerce portal platform that Amazon has done to become a global e-commerce retailer. Walmart, being the largest brick and mortar retailer, about 7 years ago, they founded Walmart.com, separate from their retail business. And they're actually working hard at making sure that they have an e-commerce platform for Walmart products. And even last year, the beginning of the year, they introduced a brand new value proposition, which is curbside pickup. You can now buy either from the mobile app or from their website. You can find and buy items and then choose whether you want them delivered, pretty much the same way as Amazon does, or whether you want to do curbside pickup. And they now have the ability to track orders, and they can tell you appointment as to when you need to be parked at a specific space right in front of of the store near you, so you can pick up whatever you purchased online, whether it's via mobile app or on their website. This is a value proposition that they introduced before COVID-19, and because of that, e-commerce sales have been growing at a faster pace in North America, where Walmart is located, compared to the way Amazon is selling in North America. Hard to believe, but it's true. Walmart is right now getting closer. They're number 2 now, second to Amazon in e-commerce, but they've been surging at a faster pace than Amazon, mostly because of that model where they have thousands of locations around US where you can choose to pick up, and it happens to be near you, maybe a couple of miles near you, no matter where you are in US. Number 4, an engaging, scalable platform. That's what you need. Turn your products and then create a platform, a digital, scalable platform that allows you to offer your products, your services online. This is what it's referring to. This is a diagram of sharing economy, where you have to have a platform that is a portal or maybe a set of mobile apps. That's what a platform would be. Then matches the buyers or people who are seeking something with owners and you are the reseller in this case. But this could be you're the producer of these, and now you're putting your products in addition to maybe third-party products, and you not only are you selling your products, you're also a reseller through this platform of somebody else's product, and you're making margin on your products along with other products. This is the way Amazon started their business, because they started with books as a service, and they quickly expanded across categories to become the number one e-commerce retailer. So this is telling you that you can actually create the same thing, that if you work on putting together this platform, attract the right target customers, get them to find you, and now you're offering your products along with somebody else's products, and you're making money every time they purchase. That is the scalable platform. And the vision is to have something like this, not just a website and not just use a CRM tool that allows you to follow up with customers along the way in the marketing and sales funnel. It's about building a platform of your own that allows you to sell online your products along with third-party products, and you're making money off of all those products. So you're expanding your revenue by becoming an e-commerce reseller of add-on and captive products that go along with your offerings when you're not the producer of these things. And that can be done also for services. So here's Uber, because it's an example of one of the fastest growing services. Started with Uber, and this is what they do. They match hailers with drivers, and they're making money from drivers who want to be listed as Uber drivers, and they're also charging for every ride that somebody hires a driver to do. And it's a combination of the algorithm that makes it easy for you to find a convenient ride as a hailer, and then making that information available to drivers nearby so they can figure out whether they want to take that business or not. And all of that is done through the platform. This relationship of matching hailers to drivers is what this platform does. And it does so in a very brilliant way, because it has all the bells and whistles that you need, and it's scalable because they're now a global brand. Very quickly, they started and they scaled and they expanded markets at the same time. Fastest growing, and they attracted a lot of attention because now there's competition. And guess what? Lyft is now today, in the last year, they've been growing at a faster rate as a competitor here in North America compared to Uber in North America. Lyft is still regional. They're still right now bound to only offer services in US, but they're surging and increasing their business over Uber in US, as Uber has had struggles in trying to figure out how to continue to expand around the world. Lyft is a competitor that has been growing faster than Uber by implementing very quickly their own platform and recruiting their own drivers. And many of these drivers are both Uber and Lyft drivers. And when you interview them and you think about, okay, these are customer-facing people, the drivers, what are they saying about Uber versus Lyft when they're both, right? Because it's clearly labeled when they're both. So if you ask them, hey, which one do you like and why? Just as you're riding with them, which I've done, people are saying great things about Lyft and not so good things. The drivers are saying great things about Lyft, not so great things about Uber. And this is why Lyft has been surging, is because those customers, they would rather take business from Lyft compared to Uber. And it's not just about better pay, it's also about the bells and whistles that Lyft offers to drivers that Uber does not. Number 5, rethink your business model. I mentioned earlier that, today you think of yourselves as being a straight pipeline, especially when you're a B2B vendor. You're a straight pipeline type of vendor that you go from raw materials to up the value chain to component providers to people that do the integration and now creates larger systems and then networks of those systems. This is all what happens, right? This is a value chain all the way to the end adopter. Well, people are now leapfrogging that because they're interconnecting the critical paths of that ecosystem that has now exist across industries, especially very mature industries, and rethinking their business model to figure out how do you create that platform in a way that actually now you're not only maintaining the value proposition, but you're connecting You're creating communities, digital communities. You're creating a user base and a buyer base, both, and you're matching users with buyers, and that's what Airbnb is all about. Here is the business model for Airbnb. And up until the beginning of the year, they were number one, growing in number of places, properties they offer for hosts. And hosts included not just homes, but also some smaller hotels when they're your bed and breakfast type. The small business hotels, single location, single owner. They list, that's all the hosts, right? They have a range from homes to bed and breakfast, hotels and hostels around the world. And they match guests with hotels based on where they want to travel, where the guests want to travel to, so they can book ahead of time. But over time, they had been adding other things like producers of activities, so that not only can you arrive there, you can now hire somebody, find them also via Airbnb to actually help you kind of have the best experience possible, because it's your first time visiting there and you want to really get to know the place well, right? These are activities that you can set up, like tours and tour guides and all those things. They're now available via Airbnb. Not only can you book, they were already expanding in many markets to have the ability for certain locations, their best-selling locations, to have activity producers that they can match with the guest, and they're monetizing every time they book a property, or they book a producer, or they book a tour. These are multiple revenue streams off of the same platform that Airbnb, and even matching to photographers when you need to have professionally done photos and videos of the place you're visiting, so that you can just hire them and then they'll deliver whatever it is that you need, especially for anything that is a special occasion like honeymoon, weddings, all those things. That's what's happening with some of these guests as they're booking locations over Airbnb. And they pivoted brilliantly. They have pivoted brilliantly because people are not traveling internationally. They had to, for the first time, reimburse people that had booked during this next year period, all the way through like middle of 2021. And now what they've done is that they're actually offering the same activities that were available in person and the same tours that were available in person. They've added photographers and videographers, and now they're offering online experiences. So the guests are still coming in, and now if you actually have the app, or if you ever have visited the portal and you have signed in, registered as a guest, you can now, they're offering a range of different type of live online services on location somewhere else in the world that you haven't had a chance to visit, or you may want to revisit online. And now you can talk to people who are telling you how to cook regional cuisine in specific exotic locations, how to play music, how to do yoga. All those things are now available via the platform. They're still monetizing from this portion that is fairly new. When the demand for this has gone significantly down, there's still some people booking there and they're retaining them, but they're right now growing this business, which is now gone from being an in-person experience to now transferring to being a live online experience. So that's what Airbnb is doing, and they're maintaining their market cap today, because if you look at what they've done, yes, they had to shrink their workforce by 25%, but they also secured $3 billion in funding. That gives them at least a runway of 2 to 3 years to try to grow the online experience business, as their in-person experience business has suffered. The bookings have suffered because not as many people are traveling now. They're mostly driving to and from some of these locations, not flying. And that means that you have smaller pockets of places that people are booking still now, especially those places that are near a national park or near a place where you can be in the outdoors, because that's what people want to do now. They want to get away from the city and into the outdoors. And that's what they do for booking. But for online experiences, you can literally pick any place in the world and just book very affordably a live online experience that is second to none, because they have booked the best chefs, the best experts at whatever they do, and they have producers behind this to actually make sure that you're delivering the best experience no matter what online. Number 6, accelerate digital transformation. What does that mean? Well, accelerating means that you can actually put together a 90-day plan as to how you can get started with a phased approach, and you can define what is in phase 1, your horizon 1 of digital transformation adoption. Horizon 2, horizon 3 can be later, and in an agile approach, you can begin implementation horizons 1, horizons 2, horizon 3 over time. And this makes you get better at agile, becoming agile as a business, and working with suppliers, the right suppliers, to make sure that it's scalable across the different aspects of your business, because you can set up 3 separate swim lanes, because you can have a swim lane for your customer value, for your collaborator value, and then for your shareholder or your viability company value. All 3 can be done in different horizons that you're doing and executing on simultaneously in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and just do it over time in the next 2 or 3 years. So once you become cash flow positive, you start accelerating, because you want to be one of the first or among the first in your industry to be early adopters of having a completely digitized business that allows you to then bounce back, because now at that point you would have put together your minimum viable platform, continue to sell your products in current channels, but now add your platform for e-commerce, and then figure out how to continue to grow that business and the revenue from that comes from that platform very quickly. All of this is what you need to do as you're executing across all 3 of these value propositions. Here's an example. Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, Dunkin', Starbucks. They've all been in market, and all of them are right now surging, even as they are not able to serve as many people in their locations. They still have a website where you can order, mobile applications where you can order, and you can just decide at a location near you where to pick up or where to have it delivered, your order delivered curbside, so that you can just don't even have to get out of the car. Everything will be brought to you either using the drive-through or the pickup or delivery, because they have all 3 those things available from their platforms, and all of them are still seeing continuous revenue, even as there's less of us wanting to go out for carry out. They offer all 3 of those in their digital platforms that they created that are branded as their own, because they've been working on these things for a few years now. And right now, Chick-fil-A is continuing to outpace the orders for chicken sandwiches compared to McDonald's. Dunkin' is surging in selling coffee compared to Starbucks. As a matter of fact, locations of Starbucks, you're starting to see less and less locations, and they've announced already that they're shutting down locations that are not profitable to them. Even as they have a mobile app, many locations for Starbucks, Starbucks as a brand is shrinking on brick and mortar, still maintaining some sales on the digital side, while Dunkin' is surging not only in digital sales, they're surging at their locations because they have less locations than Starbucks. And Dunkin' is right now surging, scaling faster than Starbucks. Number 7, be nimble and data-driven. Once you have, you understand exactly what needs to be done and the way you're going to build your platform to support all of your buyers and users, and be able to also request your partners and suppliers to provide you more things to offer on your platform, you've got to start measuring everything and the performance of every sellable item, every SKU in your platform that you're going to be offering. Measure in different ways to make sure that you're measuring and getting the right financial metrics. You're retaining and capturing, acquiring the right customer segments that you want to target, that you're continuing to inspire your employees to continue to work along in helping you adopt new tools and come up with new processes that allow you to do more with less, and improvement of the processes that need to be followed, that many of them will need the right tools or the right platform to digitize those and reduce the workload on your people. So you can really work on reassigning your people to do whatever you need them, whether it's to continue to enhance perceived customer value or continue to enhance your collaborator value or continue to now increase the viability of your company, increase the company value. All of these things will require resources in different ways, and it's not just about building new things, it's just maintaining and make sure that you have the right marketing and sales and the right brand strength, the right brand position, and those are all done through marketing activities. All of these things is opportunities for employees to get involved in new activities that you have not been doing before. And here's an example of how analytics, based on Dressler report that was the latest, as to how analytics and data are driving adoption of digital transformation. And that is saying that across all critical aspects of a business, whether it's operations, executive management, finance, sales, IT, marketing, strategic planning, having a center of excellence of some sort, R&D, human resources, manufacturing, some of these may be optional in your business. Some of them are needed because you need to produce things and scale. And all of this means that you need to now be measuring different things, either on the collaborator side, on the customer facing side, including your distribution channels, and also tracking better your financial performance for the entire business and have visibility where you can zoom in and start looking at the profitability for each and every product in your portfolio so that you can figure out what's next within that product category. And so analytics allow you to figure out to measure your performance and continue to improve your performance in near real time. Here are two other vendors, and Wayfair today is surging. Why is Wayfair surging? Those of you who are Wayfair buyers and users and stuck working from home when you haven't done this before, you're working from home for the first time in years, and you happen to know that you don't have the right furniture, you don't have the right tools to be working from home, and now there's no furniture stores, at least in the first phase one of reopening the economy. You may not have physical furniture stores where you can go and buy, because IKEA here where I live is just now reopening after a few months of being shut down because they're a non-essential business. This is true for most furniture stores. They're considered non-essential businesses. And all of us that are working from home for the first time saying we need to buy furniture, and I can't, I maybe order from Staples or Office Depot, but that's it. They don't have very much availability. Wayfair is a born digital furniture store, born in the cloud, and their platform is built to help you find any kind of furniture item for work or home, and you can buy it online. The entire experience is available from their website and or mobile applications. And this allows you to, they actually have seen surge in demand, and they're gaining double-digit revenue of everyone right now that has had to buy something for their home when they're working from home, because often they don't have the right furniture equipment to be working from home and be effective while working from home. So Wayfair has seen a surge where IKEA has seen a struggle because they got stuck in the middle. They haven't had the kind of platform that Wayfair has developed. And right now they're in the middle of developing the same platform that Walmart developed for itself through Walmart.com. They're just now beta testing in some area, in some markets, and it's not everywhere. They beta testing in very limited markets. Here it's New York City, in areas like Brooklyn, where they are opening up a new store, but that store hasn't been able to open because they delayed the opening of that store, and they've been stuck with not being able to necessarily have the right environment where you can actually buy and then pick up at the nearest IKEA near you, which is what they can do. So going back and reviewing, we talked about all 7 of these, and hopefully many of you have questions because that's what's next. But let me just give a summary of what's going on. We talked about how any of these are part of not just growing, but scaling your business. We talked about the difference between growth and scaling a business. And we said how critical it is for that when you're looking to scale your business, why it is so important to make sure you have the right leadership team and how those leaders can then help in shape a bold transformative. This is about transforming your business and figuring out how much of the business you need to digitize as quickly as you can. And then continue to figure out different ways of boosting perceived value. And certainly more of us right now are buying online. And if you don't have a good, efficient way of selling online, whatever you're offering, you need to develop that platform very quickly. And it can be done very quickly. That's the good news. But you need to bring in the right players to help you ensure that whatever you build is scalable and it is engaging to your buyers and users. And doing all of this means that you also may need to rethink and reinvent, refresh your business model, because now you're going to continue doing the things that are working, removing things that are not working so well, or that you can't execute on because of, right now you may not necessarily be an essential business, but now you need to reach out and make sure that you have the right business model moving forward that allows you to not only bounce back, but then accelerate so that you can then capture more revenue, acquire more customers, even as the majority of us are now shopping online, not going to physical locations. And you're able to make it easy for them to very quickly find what they need and then buy it, maybe even compare and then buy so that they can actually turn into your sales and then you retain those customers. And how the need to be nimble is about having metrics and having the right dashboards available to you so that management and leadership can measure how well you're doing and continue to figure out how to improve the performance as you're digitizing different aspects of your business. And then finally, also, it's about understanding how to do this right. If you need help, because you're trying to figure out how to do this right now as we're talking in your business, if this is something, be sure to reach out. Here's my contact information. You can reach out either via email, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can follow me on Twitter. These are all different ways that you can set up time where we can talk, and I'll be more than glad to schedule a half-hour conversation via a video conferencing platform to be able to find out where you're at and maybe give you some pointers. And if you're ready to hire somebody or outsource the work, let me know. We can talk more. Otherwise, I can at least point you in the right direction as to what are the things that you should be looking to do as you're trying to execute on any of these 7 ways that we talked about earlier. At this point, we're ready for questions, and I believe Wendy, I don't know if you have any questions, but I'll be monitoring the chat. I don't know if you have any questions on your side, but we can definitely start with that at this point. And I think this is the beginning of the Ask Me Anything, and we can then proceed on with this. So I want to thank all of you that have been attentive to this, and I want to make sure that at least we can, if you have any questions, type them into the Q&A or the chat. Either one works, and then we can discuss a little bit more.
Great. Thanks so much, Hector. Yeah, any questions, feel free to post them. Hector's email will be on the final screen, so if you think of something later, you can always just send an email as well.
I'm also going to be sending that information via the chat window, so you also have availability through the chat window as well. And don't be shy. Submit your questions. We can discuss anything that you may have a question on that I discussed earlier. And one of the things I want to ask to the audience is your organization currently trying to develop its own platform or trying to figure out how to maintain demand when you're seeing at least some drop in demand for your business? If you're not in a technology or software company, you may not necessarily be seeing a surge in demand. You may be actually seeing same demand, trying to figure out how to increase your demand. Or maybe you've seen a little bit of drop and now you're trying to increase your demand. Are any of you in that, where your company is in that mode? You can just type in and say, yes, we are, or in the chat window, just say, we're trying to do something right now and we're already tinkering with something that we think is going to work. We're not really sure because we haven't seen results yet. It may be work in progress, like work in progress, that you don't have performance measurements yet, just let me know via the chat, or you can type in your questions.
I'll just go through a few quick reminders while we're waiting to see if anyone has questions. The PDU code for the webinar will be sent to you via email. And if you would like to become a premium member of the Great IT Professional, please visit our subscribe page at greatpro.org/subscribe. Premium membership is $199 per year. It does allow you unlimited anytime access to the online library of over 1,000 PDU hours. You can also, as I mentioned earlier, try out our mobile app at greatpro.org/mobile. And here's a question. Are organizations always able to extract real-time data, or do they work with what they have?
So, great question. Right now, and this is some of the challenges, is that even as organizations are collecting more information than ever, naturally it comes unstructured. And unstructured data is being generated today at terabytes per day. And it's increasing, not decreasing. That's what most experts are saying. The issue right now is that, yes, you're collecting the information, but unstructured data is not ingestible by any analytics platform that you can find. So the challenge right now that everybody's working on is how to improve your data management processes, automate those processes, and even talking about how to do this using artificial intelligence, because it's just not possible for humans to go through that much amount of information very quickly. And they're now looking to find data management and data analysis tools, that because you need two things in your data to go from unstructured to structured. You need to have data integrity, and you need to have highest quality in your data, meaning zero errors and omission in the way it's being collected and the way it's being curated, so that it can be ingested into analytics that allow you to now have real-time information being displayed. So this is right now the stumbling block for most organizations, is that yes, they're generating and collecting and capturing and storing that information, but it's unstructured data. And because it's terabytes of information they're collecting on a daily basis, it is a challenge to figure out how to curate quickly. And right now they're looking at vetting data management platforms that allow to automation of that collection of information, so that it becomes more structured, and then figure out what is the right way to curate or the right way to tag that information automatically, so that you can feed it into an analytics platform and then get real-time information that is believable. And most people today have been doing diagnostic or actually descriptive, that describes what just happened. What they're trying to shift to right now is doing predictive analytics, and even further, prescriptive analytics, that allows you to say, based on the trends that we've observed before and what we've done, and we want to remove any negative risk from, history from repeating itself, because when bad decisions were made in the past, no matter who it was within the organization that was involved. And now prescriptive will give you recommendations. It's like having an expert system saying, hey, indicators show that this is about to happen. Here's recommended actions that you need to take now before it happens, or to prevent negative risk from occurring and continue to go along, and your business performance will not be impacted as much as it when you are proactive, anticipating something that is about to happen and that has a higher probability of happening based on previous things that you've done from a few years ago. So all of this is, the shift is going from descriptive and diagnostic analytics to becoming more predictive and prescriptive. And that's what's going on right now. It requires automated data management in the way you're collecting all this data, so that you can then ingest it in any type of analytics platform. So that's in essence what's going on right now with many organizations, and they're struggling because, as I mentioned, they're collecting more and more information than ever before, and it continues to grow. They just can't assign enough people to actually figure out how to curate that information so that it can become structured.
Great. Thanks so much, Hector. I think we've covered the questions, but as I mentioned, Hector's email is on the screen as well as in the chat box, so feel free to reach out if you have any questions later today and the days ahead. Hector@boldpm.com. If you have questions on the Great IT Professional, I can be reached at wendy.nolan@cai.io. And that does conclude our webinar for today. On behalf of Hector and CAI's Great IT Professional, thanks to everyone for joining us. Thanks for participating. We certainly hope to see you again at future events. And Hector, once again, always a pleasure having you. Thanks for sharing your time and knowledge today.
Thank you so much, Wendy. It's been a pleasure, and thanks everyone for being here. Reach out if you have any questions, and thanks so much. Have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thank you.
Stay safe.